Hello, Poulton Photographic Society. It appears that events or recent events have overtaken us, and due to the virus, the coronavirus that's going around, unfortunately, I won't be able to come to your club. However, the world of photography still keeps going on. I have been sent the files from Richard, so instead of giving you some typed notes, I thought I'd try and put together a little bit of an audio file. So I'm juggling bits of paper here, but hopefully you'll find my comments of use as well. So there's going to be 6 audio files and hopefully 6 presentations with the slideshow of the files in sequence as well for you to follow, and hopefully you're going to get some enjoyment. And I hope to be at your club in person, hopefully next year or whenever I'm next invited. So we're going to start off with the developer mono competition to start with. It's only a small section, so according to your rules you just need a first and a second, and then any awards that are appropriate to that section. So we're going to start off with the old sheep bridge to start with, and it's a landscape image. And I can see what the author has tried to do. They've tried to put some layer in. So as part of when I look at a landscape image, I look for a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. And I think that there is some layering effect that has gone on. So the author has thought about it. So congratulations there. I can move in from the bottom left, and I can move from post to post. And I think as part of that mono treatment as well, that I can see all of the detail that's still within the old sheep bridge. I can move forward into the landscape, and then I've got a darkened sky, which just keeps my interest in on the overall image. It's a fairly contrasty image, and so as part of the kind of the suggestion to the author to hopefully try and improve their photography, because that's why we enter competitions, I just look at the shadows and highlights and just try and tone down, especially in the sky on the right hand side, just to try and put a little bit more detail into it as well. So that's that image. The next image that we'll look at is called Deep in Thought. And whether the photographer has got a connection to the child, whether it's their daughter or granddaughter, I think that you've captured the moment reasonably well. I do wonder what the actual young lady is looking at. The author's gone in fairly tight, so kind of just above the waist, just showing me the head and the detail. But I think because they don't have the connection to the photographer, I would have liked to have known why she's looking like that. I think that you've controlled the lighting fairly well as well. You've got detail, you've got catch lights that are in the eyes as well. There's nothing too distracting in the background. It's very much a split background with darker elements on one side and the lighter elements on the other. I think having the connection to the photographer, especially if you know the person, for me would have made it a little bit stronger. Also, just as part of your monochrome conversion technique, just looking at the shoulder on the left hand side, for me, I would have been quite tempted to burn that down. I still think there's plenty of detail all the way through, but like I say, because it's a fairly small section, I'm not going to give everything an award. However, the first award that I am going to give is called Fish and Architecture. Now, I was attracted to it when I saw the image straight away. For me, though, it's a shame about the title. I would have actually liked to have known where it is. It's rather like having tweet titles in natural history as well. Sometimes the documentary title would actually be more helpful to me to know what I'm looking at. However, that beside, I think this really suits a monochrome treatment. For me, monochrome's all about shape and texture, and that's exactly what you've got as part of this image. I can move in from, once again, the left hand side and move over all of those shapes and the right to the right hand side, and then that very, very straight upright right on the edge of the frame, for me, just acts as a stop. I think that you've done a great job of capturing the reflection as well, and also it looks like it's been a fairly bright, contrasty day, and so as part of that, you've made sure that you've captured all of the detail. For me, once again, I just wonder whether it would have been possible just to get a little bit wider as part of the lens, or just being able to move just slightly back. So if you're going to capture the whole reflection, you've just cut off very, very minor, just at the bottom of the base, some part of the reflection of the dome. And also kind of the piece of light that for me is just falling on the left-hand side of the frame. It balances very nicely with the right-hand side, but just make sure as part of that that you have retained all of that detail in the whites as well. The other thing I would possibly just suggest to the author, I know it's probably the angle that you have taken it at, but your verticals are vertical. I can see that from the pillar on the right-hand side. But for me, potentially, I would have possibly seen if you could have used the distort tool or whatever software you use, and just been able to straighten the horizon just a little bit more. For me, it just appears that the structure is leaning very slightly to the left-hand side. However, that said, that for me gets a commended. And so we come on to second place. And this one is called Lapwing Roost, and I picked it because it was very, very different, very, very high key processing. In some ways it goes across, it kind of breaks the rules of conventional monochrome photography. You've got no or very, very little detail in the highlights, or almost everything is base paper, as they would call it, kind of pure white, and there is no detail in the birds. However, that said, because the shapes are very, very well defined and we know that they are birds, then that for me works. I also like the bird in flight in the centre as well, and also you've kept or you've added in some reflections as well. I also like the crop that it has been given. So you've got that letterbox format, and even though the left and the right are balanced, there are still plenty of detail, and they are, like I say, the left and the right are different from each other as well. I thought it was very, very different, but I still think it worked. A very, very graphical file. And so for me, the winner of the section is image. Hotshots is my first place, and I like this for a number of reasons. So first of all, even though it is a dark background, it's not completely black all the way along. So it starts from almost a pure black on the left hand side, and when you get to the far side of the image, you've almost kind of got a graduated tone, and you can see some detail in the shadow. Secondly, as well, it's not just a single character, it's two characters, but they're not posed exactly the same. They are similar. You can see that they are related, especially with the clothing, the kind of almost the gangster Wild West clothing that they're wearing. But one of them has got their pistol cocked, and the other one is obviously just moving, pointing it at somebody as well. I'm not concerned that they aren't looking at the photographer. I think that they're probably too busy aiming or trying to avoid bullets, whatever is kind of coming their way. The other thing that I thought was quite fitting was the lighting as well. Quite harsh lighting, which suits that gangster style feel. However, you've still made sure that the characters, even though that they are wearing dark clothing, especially the one on the left-hand side with the moustache, you've still got separation from the background as well. I've got catch lights in the eyes, in both pairs of the eyes, and I've got detail all the way through. And for me, what just adds that additional bit of quality to the image is also you can see the smoke or that's coming from the recently fired gun as well. And for me, that adds just like a little bit of movement, a little bit more character to show that they aren't just completely static as part of the overall scene. So I liked the way that it had all been put together. The other thing that for me just added that extra bit of touch to the file as well is it's to note that even though it is quite a dark image, it's always interesting to know where the kind of the projector or the end of the file ends and the image starts. So the author here has put a key line round, a white key line, really, really small, but it just for me adds that finishing touch as well. So they are the scores or the results of the developer mono section.